in that video there. And again, we're trying to work through exactly how many people have been injured, but we do believe there are multiple people that have been shot there, and currently students, nearby residents, presumably faculty, anyone on that campus being told to shelter in place as this active investigation continues. Just want to bring you the latest that we're getting from Brown University, and they're updating their community online. This was from about 10 minutes ago. This was just before 6 p.m. local time. Brown University saying that the situation remains ongoing. Continue to shelter in place. Law enforcement is on site. So right now, getting a sense of just the massive response. And of course, anytime you get reports of a shooting on a campus, this is the type of response that you would see there, because unfortunately, it's something that we've seen play out on universities and schools across the country. So it's not something that's unknown to students. Many of them would know what to do to shelter in place, but we're still trying to work through some of the details. And we can actually bring in Nikki Schiller now, who's following that story from our London newsroom. And Nikki, I think still some details that we're looking to sort through here, but it's pretty clear at least that we know that multiple people have been shot and that this is still a very active scene there at Brown University.
Yeah, absolutely, Carl. As you say, Brown University just posting in their latest update that the situation remains ongoing and that people should continue to shelter in place, law enforcement on site. And we've seen the pictures from the area of multiple law enforcement vehicles, the police, the fire service, all there around the area of Brown University. There is always in these situations some confusion after the initial reports. And that is what we have seen today, because Brown University, in their initial alert that they sent out to the students, urging them to do what universities always say when there is an active shooter situation, which is shelter in place if you have to run, or in a worst case, as they say, fight. In that initial alert that they sent out, they did say that one suspect was in custody. Then around half an hour or so later, they issued that second update saying that actually the suspect or suspects, and again, we don't know whether it is one suspect or more, were still at large and that people should remain in shelter. And then we've had, in the last half an hour or so, that update from President Trump posting on his Truth Social account saying that he had been briefed on the shooting that took place at Brown University in Rhode Island. And he said the suspect is in custody. He then went on to say, God bless the victims and the families of the victims. Now, while the president has said that the suspect has been apprehended, that at the moment has not been confirmed by the police. So, as I was saying, in these situations, there is often that confusion as information is filtered through. And of course, the priority for the police is to deal with the incident rather than necessarily update us as the media. So we will be waiting for more confirmed information from the police. But as you said, Carl, the information we do know is that multiple people have been shot. That has been confirmed by Providence police. But again, what we don't know is how seriously injured those people might be. Now, we can assume that you've seen the huge operation that is going on around the university. That will include medical people. There will be ambulances there, and the hospitals in the area will have been put on alert because, as we know, shootings do take place in America on a regular basis, and universities often are involved in those, but those hospitals will have procedures that will come into place as soon as there is an incident of this scale. And so that will be going on in the hospitals, just as the police have their protocols that they will follow. But what we don't know at the moment is how seriously injured, or indeed, Carl, the number of people that have been shot. All we know is those words that the police have put out, which is multiple people have been shot in this incident at Brown University in Providence. We know that there are around 11,000 students on this campus, and we understand that exams were taking place today on the campus, so there will have been students there on Saturday afternoon when that alert was first sent out. But still a lot of detail that we don't know about at the moment. But as we have seen from the pictures around the scene, we do know that there is a huge operation going on by the police and the other emergency services.
Yeah, we've been watching there, Nikki, as we are now back on live pictures there in Providence, Rhode Island. We can see some ATF, so that would be federal law enforcement there on the scene, about 5 or 6 officers there. That's the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms group there. And then previously, about a couple minutes ago, just to the left of our screen, we saw a very large group of other police officers that were gathered there, amassing, and it looks like they're outside potentially of that building in question. I haven't seen a sign of exactly what building that is yet, but you're right, and Nikki, absolutely. So many fire engines, ambulances, other emergency vehicles that have responded to this incident. You know, we're just tracking these updates that we're getting from Brown University itself, and this is one of those sources of information that we've been following. They've just posted another update. I'm just going to read this to you, and this was posted at 6:05 p.m., so this was just in the last 10 minutes. And here's what it says. It's a bit of an update. I'm just going to read this to you here, kind of walking through what the university knows. It says, at 4:22 p.m., we alerted our campus to an active shooter incident near Barris and Hawley Engineering. That's that building that we've been discussing. It goes on to say, we informed our community to shelter in place by locking doors, silencing phones, and staying hidden until further notice. This does remain an active crime scene, and law enforcement continues to search for the suspect. The situation is ongoing, and all members of the community should continue to shelter in place. So that part of that update seems to confirm exactly what you were saying there, Nikki, that for now, we believe the suspect is actually still at large. There was some confusion about that. Even the president himself seemed to have some misinformation on that, or at least was behind in that information. So what we're hearing from Brown just in the last 10 minutes, still an active crime scene, law enforcement continuing to search for the suspect. We are getting an update as well about any potential victims here. So Brown University now saying, we're very sorry to share that we have confirmed reports of multiple shooting victims, but we are not able to share their condition. They have been transported to local hospitals. Our first priority is the safety of our community and coordinating closely with local law enforcement and medical personnel to ensure their safety. We're working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting. We had multiple exams scheduled in that building from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., and we can confirm that support services are on site. It goes on to say, senior administrative leaders from across the university are convened in emergency command to mobilize ongoing response and support for our community, and we're establishing support for our community and families. We've been and continue to be very grateful to law enforcement and emergency personnel, and interestingly saying we have relocated students to get support services at a secure location. Please continue to take all steps to remain safe. So, Nikki, some interesting information that we're getting there. I think, first of all, interesting to hear, and obviously sad to hear, but confirming there that there are reports of multiple shooting victims. We don't yet know their condition, but that seems to square with what we've been hearing, that in this situation here, the suspect's still not in custody, and we do know multiple victims shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were mentioning that President Trump had posted, he has now posted an update saying that the suspect is not in custody. The Brown University police reversing their previous statement. So President Trump posting in the last few minutes that the suspect is not in custody. So there is a huge operation now to try and find that suspect. But as you said, Carl, the university confirming that multiple people have been shot. But the priority in this case will be to get them to hospital and treat them. So it might be that the university itself don't know the condition of those people because they will be in hospital being treated at this very moment in time. And of course, the priority for the emergency services are after they have got those people to hospital will be to inform loved ones. And you can imagine that there will be a lot of concern at the moment, both amongst the students on the campus, but also the parents and friends and relatives of people in that area of Brown University in Rhode Island about those casualties. And the priority will be to inform next of kin and relations about incidents like this. So it will take time to filter through to the media about how serious or not those injuries are. But as you said, the statement from Brown University that you were reading out shows that they have obviously implemented their protocols and procedures and are making sure that there are areas for the students to gather and they can deal with them. And you can imagine the shock amongst the students who are there, who may have been getting ready to take one of those exams that were scheduled for today. And all of a sudden, you've gone from being a student trying to prepare for that exam, hoping that you can remember the facts that you wanted to for the exam, to having to stay in shelter and deal with an active shooter situation. And you can imagine they'll be trying to send messages to their friends and loved ones that they are safe and that they are okay. And they've had to switch from thinking that they're going to take an exam to doing that. We've had a statement from the Rhode Island Governor, Dan McKee. He says, "We are actively monitoring the shooting at Brown University." He writes on Facebook that he says that the state police are working with Rhode Island Emergency Management and local enforcement, local law enforcement on the situation. And we heard President Trump saying that the FBI were involved already. The Rhode Island Governor posting, "Stay clear of the area and monitor official channels for updates." He says that he is praying for our community. So that the latest statement from the Rhode Island Governor saying he's actively monitoring the situation, that the police are working along with the Rhode Island Emergency Management and the local law enforcement, praying for the community, as you would imagine lots of people in the Rhode Island area are right now, but also crucially urging people to stay away from the area because the police won't want additional people turning up at the scene while they are trying to deal with what we know at the moment is an active situation. We know that the suspect or suspects, the university saying not clear at the moment whether there is more than one suspect, but they are currently looking for that suspect or suspects at the moment. So the priority will be to try and find the suspect, but also deal with those who've been injured.
Yeah, Nikki Schiller there. Stay with us. Nikki Schiller tracking this story for us from our London newsroom. I'm Carl Nassman here in Washington. If you're just joining us here on BBC News, you're looking at live images of Providence, Rhode Island, near Brown University. Reports of an active shooting with multiple victims, and we're hearing from authorities there that the search for the suspect is still underway. I want to bring you the very latest we're getting from Brown University. This is an update about 10 minutes ago, and this is an update on the shooter. They're saying that an earlier report of a secondary shooting incident near Governor Street, which is around the campus area there, is unfounded. But the campus still saying it remains critical to continue to shelter in place due to the original situation. This is still very much, authorities say, an active investigation. We believe, at least right now, you know, from the shots that we've been looking at, just due to the groups of police and where they are, It's unclear whether or not there is still a danger to the community if the shooter is still moving around the campus or off the campus or has fled. These are all details that we're still trying to work through. But right now, we know multiple people have been shot there at Brown University, and the authorities still looking for a suspect in that case. I want to bring in Sean Dilley now, our North America correspondent. He's been following that story from right here for us from Washington. Sean, what's the latest that you can tell us?
Well, it's a very wide-ranging police investigation. The first thing that any police department here in the US does is they have a drill for something called an active shooter. They have a time they have to respond in. We've heard from the university and police that those alerts had gone out, and confirmation that they are still searching for a suspect is the last we've heard. President Trump, as you'd already noted, had initially put out a social media post saying that the suspect was in custody, and then he said that police had reversed that statement. Now, we've not seen any statement that said they had anyone in custody. What's happening now, as you can imagine, is a carefully coordinated scene. President Trump says the FBI are on the scene. What we know is that police officers of one agency or another, coordinating with each other, are now searching not just for the suspect. They've got a few key jobs now. The first is to find the suspect, yes. Neutralise them, absolutely. As soon as the area is what they call not hot, that's when the rescue workers, including trauma-trained police officers, are going to go in, treat any casualty. And at the moment, the public information officer on public safety is not saying what the status is of casualties and what the situation is there. But it's a very frightening situation for people to be in. The key message that one hopes everybody would listen to, of course, is please say, look, just stay clear of this area. They're advising anybody who might be in the university to put mobile telephones, put cell phones on silent, and information will continue to flow.
Yeah, a difficult and scary situation must be for the students that are there at Brown University. And we heard Brown University actually confirming that, we know that the university is in the middle of final exams. Brown confirming that there had been multiple exams scheduled in that engineering building where we believe the shooting happened from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. They said that they can confirm that support services are on site there and that they've begun to relocate students to get support services at a secure location. And again, another update coming from Brown regarding victims, confirming in a statement that multiple shooting victims took place here. So we know multiple people, a victim here in this shooting, not able to share their condition, the statement reads, but that they have been transported to local hospitals, and the university is working to establish who exactly was there at the scene during the shooting. We've also been seeing some interviews being done with local media, speaking to students there, some of them on lockdown in a gym, so that just gives you a sense of what some of these students must be going through. This is a scene that, unfortunately, we do see play out. I wouldn't say often, but it does happen in the United States on campuses. And in these points and at these times, as Sean Dilley was pointing out, often students are told to shelter in place, barricade themselves inside of classrooms, find a safe location, even turn off your cell phone so that it doesn't ring and reveal your location. So these are the kinds of things that these young students are dealing with. And right now, many of them, it seems, are currently on lockdown. That's what Brown University is telling us. We also have Nikki Schiller with us, standing by, tracking this story from London. This is just breaking in the last hour or so, and you can see the live images now, Nikki, of more of those ambulances and emergency personnel on the scene. And it sounds like we're still getting details, but certainly something that will be concerning to parents, staff, and students as we approach the holidays. And again, this was a time when there were still students on campus and they were in the middle of finals.
Yeah, I think anyone can appreciate what it must be like, both for the students, but also their friends and family, if they were preparing to do exams, and then suddenly you have this active shooter situation on campus, and the thoughts that would be running through their minds at that point. President Trump mentioned that the FBI were involved, and the FBI have confirmed in a statement to our partner broadcaster CBS in the US that it is assisting law enforcement partners in Rhode Island with any and all available resources. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives also posting on X that it was sending agents to the school. And we've seen from those pictures that we've been showing that there is a massive operation ongoing by the emergency services, dozens and dozens of police cars and fire engines and ambulances. And, you know, we mentioned earlier the Rhode Island governor, Dan McKee, posting on social media that people should stay clear of the area because they won't want additional people to be in that area. The university initially saying, as you've been mentioning, Carl, that the shooting appeared to have happened near the engineering building and that shots had been fired near Governor Street, which is a few blocks away. There is confusion exactly as to where the shooting took place. Was it on the campus or was it nearby? What we do know, as you've been reporting, is that multiple people have been shot. But as we had from that latest update from the university itself, they were unable to say what the condition of those people were. They of course, have said that those victims have been transported to local hospitals, but they can't share their condition at the moment. The university, of course, working to establish who was at the scene during the shooting. And as we said, multiple exams taking place in and around that engineering building where that initial alert of an active shooter on the campus was issued for near that building. But the university, of course, will be trying to work out if any of their students are amongst those who have been injured and taken to hospital. And the police will now have that priority of trying to track down the suspect. We had that earlier confusion about whether there was a suspect in custody or not. We do now know that there is no suspect in custody at the moment. So there will be that huge manhunt underway from the emergency services in Rhode Island, trying to track down the suspect. Of course, at this point, they will also be looking at that CCTV footage to see if they can find out any information. Of course, the university itself will have lots of CCTV. So you can imagine some of the officers that will have gone to the university will now be trying to see if they can see what happened either near the building where that alert was first issued for and nearby, to see if they can get any clues to the identity of who the suspect might be. In the meantime, the medical staff dealing with those who have been injured and have been taken to hospital. The key thing that a lot of people will now be thinking is how seriously injured those multiple victims are and just how many people have been involved in this shooting at Brown University and nearby in Rhode Island. And those are the details, Carl, that will come out over the coming hours. You and I have both covered incidents like this before, and we know that there is often confusion when these incidents first start about exactly what has happened and how many people may have been injured. And it isn't until later it becomes clearer. And at some point in the coming hours, we will get an official statement from the local police, and then we will get more information. But at the moment, it is still a confusing situation.
Yeah, we want to bring you some breaking news now, and this is in relation to the victims there in that shooting at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. We're now hearing from local U.S. media. At least 2 people have been killed in that shooting at Brown University. So again, that news just coming in to us, and this is from U.S. media. At least 2 people have been killed in that shooting. And we've been hearing reports from Brown University that there were multiple victims. Just in terms of numbers, we don't have exact numbers for you on the number of injured, but we are getting confirmation now, and this is from local media, that at least 2 people have been killed in that shooting there in Providence, Rhode Island. This is an aerial view now, live look at the area of Brown University there, and you just get a sense, you can see those blue lights on at least 3 different streets there, just lining the streets around the area where that incident took place a couple of hours ago. That gives you a really good sense of the scale of the emergency response now, the flashing lights there, about 6:30 p.m. in the evening on a Saturday at this university where final exams were taking place. And this shooting where multiple victims, multiple injured, and at least 2 people now we know have been killed near an engineering building on campus. It's still unclear whether or not this took place on the campus or adjacent to it. We don't actually know if the victims are students or not, so we're still working through a lot of these details here. But what we do know now, and this is just coming into us from U.S. media, at least 2 people dead in this shooting incident there near Brown University. This is an Ivy League university, a private university. About 11,000 students attend Brown. And you can see as that camera angle now zooms in, a really good shot there of just a packed street filled with emergency responders and police. We know the federal authorities have become involved as well. We heard Nikki Schiller telling us about the FBI on the scene, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms likely on the scene just to lend their hand, especially maybe to look at potential explosives, if anything like that was involved in this. Of course, we don't know the extent of what sort of weapons were used. These are all details we're working through, and this is all part of the investigation that will be taking place now. We know that this is still an active investigation. There had been previous reports that a shooter was taken into custody, but we now know that is not the case. So authorities still searching for the suspect in this shooting. That means that the area around the university, that includes local residents, students, faculty, teachers, on lockdown at this point. We're getting reports through local media that there's students, of course, still taking shelter there on campus. And that's the latest that we've heard, in fact, from Brown University, that they're still telling people to stay where they are, remain in shelter. If they're safe, stay there. We've heard some of the instructions to students and anybody on campus to even turn off your cell phones just to make sure that your phone doesn't make a noise to alert anybody to your current location. Brown University also saying that there were multiple exams scheduled in that engineering building near where that shooting happened from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., and that they have support services on site there. We know from Brown University that there are multiple shooting victims and that some of those victims have been transported to local hospitals. And then the latest we're hearing now from U.S. media, at least 2 people dead in that shooting in Providence, Rhode Island. This all taking place a bit earlier in the afternoon. This was the first news we began to hear about. This was around 4:30, about 4:20 in the afternoon now, so that's about 2 hours ago. Reports of an active shooter. And this was near the Barris and Hawley Engineering Building on campus. Brown University sending out an alert to everybody there, telling them to lock their doors, silence phones, and stay hidden until further notice. And now we're getting those reports. 2 people have been killed. It looks like we have a press conference. We'll be getting some more details confirmed there. You can see that press conference about to get underway with local authorities. So let's go ahead and listen in, and we'll see what more we can hear now there from Brown University.
The incident that occurred at Brown today, and so please understand that it's important for us to share what details we do have to the community, because there's a lot of fear and anxiety and unfortunately already some misinformation, but this is very early hours, and so please know that some of these details may be subject to change, that this investigation is ongoing, We will be as transparent as we can in the hours to come, and we'll provide regular updates, but we're going to share what we do know at this time. But please bear with us as we know sometimes these details shift as the investigation progresses. Sadly, today is a day that the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island prayed would never come. We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status, though stable, at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this time. There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted. We will make regular updates through all City of Providence official social media channels. That's where you can find out more information about the shelter in place, if it changes, when it's lifted. I want to commend the heroic work of the Providence Police Department, the Brown Police Department, the Providence Fire Department, and the many agencies who provided mutual aid today. Brown Police responded first and then were quickly assisted by Providence Police, who fearlessly and courageously entered and worked through the building, and we'll hear from them in a minute. Providence Fire responded quickly as well and transported several of the victims. The fire department was assisted with mutual aid from across the state of Rhode Island. And as I think we know our community to be, our neighbors have really stepped up in a big way today. And we're very grateful for everyone who has offered assistance and who will continue to offer assistance. The fire department was aided by departments in Warwick, Barrington, Bristol, Brown, EMS, Pawtucket, Cranston, Coventry, Smithfield, East Greenwich, North Kingstown, Woonsocket, Professional Ambulance Companies, Situate, and Cumberland. Providence Police and Brown Police were aided by East Providence, Cranston, Cumberland, the State Police, the FBI, and the ATF. Brown, Providence, and the FBI are currently in close coordination as they seek to find the shooter or shooters. The shooting took place at the Barris and Holly building, which is a Brown University engineering and physics building. The building contains both classrooms and lab space. We'll hear from the provost in a minute with some additional updates from Brown. There will be a family reunification center that Brown will be setting up effective at 7 o'clock. Please stay tuned for updates on where that will be. We are encouraging anyone who was a witness to today's action to please contact the police as the investigation is ongoing and they may have critical information. At this time, I'd like to introduce the governor of the state of Rhode Island, who was quick to call and offer assistance and has been in touch with our law enforcement, had the state police respond quickly, and has been a great partner to the city of Providence on this sad day. Governor McKee.
Okay, Mayor. Yeah, so the unthinkable has happened, and I've been in touch, as the mayor said, to make sure that all the resources that we have, whether it's the EMA, our state police, Department of Health, which we've been in contact with as well, are responding in a way that is being helpful as possible. We've been in contact with the White House as well. Our office has been in contact with the White House. So we will bring all our resources to the table. I've been in touch with Governor Healy as well as other governors who have experienced the same tragedy. So our thoughts go out to those who have been impacted by this in any way, and we'll continue to provide the assistance to the authorities here in Providence, as well as statewide, and continue to make sure that we are doing everything we can to help the families that are, that are suffering right now.
Thank you, Governor. Now I'd like to introduce Chief Rodney Chapman from Brown PD.
My name is Rodney Chapman. I'm Vice President for Brown University, Vice President of Public Safety and Emergency Management, and I serve as Chief of Police as well. As mentioned, and we will mention this several times, this is a very fluid situation and dynamically evolving. Primary concern is the safety and security of this community, and we are encouraging, if anyone has information about the tragic events that unfolded this afternoon, to please contact us and provide that information. At this moment, I do want to say and share that my profound thanks and appreciation for all of the first responders who have come to assist us and all that are gathered right now and speaking to continue this investigation, to include all of the City of Providence resources, state resources, and the federal government in terms of the FBI and ATF. Sir?
Now, Commander Tim O'Hara from Providence Police.
Good evening, Tim O'Hara, Deputy Chief of Providence Police. So earlier this afternoon, when we received the call for an active shooter inside a building inside Brown University, our officers responded, and as they are trained to do, entered that building immediately and began searching for a suspect. They did a systematic search of the building. However, no suspect was located at that time. They were able to clear that building and provide a safe place for all of students and faculty and workers that were in that building to meet at. Preliminarily, all we have is a suspect that was a male dressed in black. It is unknown how he entered the building, but we do know that he exited the Hope Street side of that complex. We're utilizing every resource possible to find this suspect. The shelter in place is in order, and I urge people to take that very seriously. Please do not come to the area. There's an active police investigation going on, and there's a lot of police activity. We've got assistance so far from some surrounding communities, the state police, the Cranston Police, East Providence Police, as well as our federal partners in the FBI and the ATF. We're talking to witnesses at this time and delving into any video that's in the area, and the investigation is very active and ongoing. We'll be updating you, I'm sure, throughout the night, but as I said, right now there is no suspect that is under arrest, so please stay out of the area. Thank you.
We'll take questions at the end. We'll take questions at the end. We have a few more speakers, please. Next, Fire Chief Derek Silva.
Derek Silva, Fire Chief of the City of Providence. As mentioned previously, at 4:05 p.m., we were dispatched to the area of Waterman and Thayer for an active shooter incident, where our firefighters, known as a rescue task force, linked up with Providence Police with 2 operational locations at Waterman and Thayer and Waterman at Hope. Rescue Task Force is a firefighter that wears body armor and has ability to stop any shooting wounds and make sure that any victims are extricated quickly. With the assistance of police in neighboring cities and towns, 8 people were transported. As the mayor mentioned, critical but stable condition, and 2, unfortunately, were dead on arrival. We have a total of 10 victims, but as I caution everyone, this is a developing incident, and we are still actively searching the buildings along with Providence Police to make sure that everyone has gone home safe and that there are no one else that needs our assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And then last, we'll hear from the Provost of Brown University, Frank Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Frank Doyle, Provost at Brown University. I want to reiterate, this is an evolving situation, as you've heard multiple times. Our first priority is the safety of our academic community, the campus community, and coordinating closely with law enforcement and medical services. In the meantime, we continue to direct our community to shelter in place in the greater vicinity of the campus. We are working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting and any impacts from the shooting. We do know that there were final exams taking place in the building between 2 and 5 p.m. We can confirm that support services are on site. We have been and continue to be very grateful to law enforcement and emergency medical personnel. We have relocated students to get support services at a secure location, and we'll be providing more details. We continue to remain extremely grateful to local law enforcement for their ongoing support. We're committed to keeping our community informed, supporting our students and families, as well as the affected faculty and staff. Thank you.
So before we take questions, I just want to implore the greater Providence community. We are a week and a half away from Christmas, and 2 people died today and another 8 are in the hospital. So please pray for those families. Understand that this is not something our community has gone through together, but I also know this community, and I know that its best moments are when we come together to support one another. It's going to be a difficult rest of the day, difficult weeks and months ahead as this community heals. And each and every one of us can play a small role in that, in supporting one's neighbor and offering that support and their prayers for everyone involved. At this point, we'll be happy to take questions as we know them.
Mayor, what can you tell us about the victims, including whether they were all Brown University students?
We cannot disclose any details about the victims at this time, whether they were students or not, or any other details. We will make those details available when they become available. We expect to be providing regular updates throughout the evening and in the days to come, and this is too early to be able to provide those details.
Was there any advance warning that something like this might be happening?
The first we learned about today was the 911 call that came in, but we had no other, I don't think, we had no other notice or threat indicators or anything like that. Please, Kate.
Mayor, do you know exactly when Brown University did put out that someone was in custody? How long was that misinformation out for, and how was that determination made and then retracted?
There was an individual who was preliminarily thought to be involved and was later determined to have no involvement, and that's why we can confirm that at this time there is nobody in custody. The length of that investigation or interrogation of that individual, I don't know.
Mayor, has a weapon been recovered?
Commander?
No weapons have been recovered.
Do you know what weapon was used?
We just know that it was a firearm. What type of firearm, we're unaware of.
Mayor, Brown University Police Armed?
Yes, we are.
Commander, do you need a pass to get into that building, or could someone just get in off the street?
I'm unaware of how the security of that building works.
Most of our buildings after hours are card swiped, but since there was a final exam, there was probably a lot of traffic in and out of that building.
And where did it happen in the building? Did this take place inside where the exam was going on?
We're still verifying everything. So we look at everything right now as all part of the crime scene.
Were the
So we're
victims
checking.
found like in a hallway, or were they in a classroom?
We're unable to share that at this time.
Commander, can you say if there have been any confirmed shots fired since the 405 shots?
There was a call that came over for shots fired in the area of Governor Street, but that was unconfirmed and unfounded.
So as far as we know, the gunman has not been seen since around the 4 o'clock hour.
That's correct. The last time that we know that he's been seen was when somebody saw him leaving the building on the Hope Street side of the building.
And is he around college age, or do you have any information?
I don't have any more information about his description.
Commander, could you repeat how the individual exited the building?
He exited the doors at the Hope Street side of the building.
Do police have any video footage of the suspect at this point?
We're working on that right now. We're working along with FBI on tracking down video from that area.
What resources are being used other than video at this point to try to locate the suspect?
Forensic evidence. We're using witness evidence, and we're looking for video mostly right now because we'd like to get an image out as quickly as we can of the suspect.
Now, having been about close to 3 hours now, are you in contact with other law enforcement? Now we're talking a large perimeter at this juncture. Who else is involved in this now?
As I said earlier, state police are involved, ATF, the FBI, Providence Police Detectives, and all the other squads that we have available to us at the Patrol Bureau, and then our specialty intelligence units and our real-time crime center will be involved as well.
Any multi-state alerts?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Has everyone vacated that building at this point?
No, not everybody. There's still a police presence in that building. That's the crime scene. We're going to be in that building for quite some time.
But the students or faculty, bystanders?
Yes, everybody that was in that building at the time has been moved.
Commander, so it's 2 deceased and 8 that are in basic critical condition at the hospital?
They're in stable condition at the hospital, Rhode Island Hospital right now.
Are they able to provide any details? Or?
That's what we're working on right now, John.
In terms of when that suspect was last seen, he was leaving the building on Hope Street. Was that an eyewitness account? Did police see him leave? Was there any interaction with police with that suspect?
No interaction with that suspect with police. That was from eyewitness account.
Chief Dan Jenny from Channel 10. I just wanted to know if there's any kind of description you can provide to anybody here right now. I know it's kind of hard, but we don't know what we're looking for, so there's a lot of people on edge. Is there anything that you can give us?
All I can give you is a male, all dressed in black at this time. We're hoping to get something very soon. An image would be the best thing for us to get out there to you guys and everybody else. So
Do you have an image of him?
a mask on, did he?
that I can't confirm.
Do you have an image of him? Is he?
I do not have an image of him.
Commander, he left on foot or did he get into a vehicle?
He left on foot.
And did he go down Hope Street?
He exited the building on Hope Street. Where we went from there, we're unsure.
How do you find a suspect in a city campus? Makes it very, very challenging.
We have all available resources, and as the governor mentioned, he's in touch with governors in other areas as well. This will be an ongoing investigation. Obviously, FBI, ATF, Providence Police, Brown Police are all actively investigating this as we speak, and we will provide updates as they become available. We expect to provide regular updates throughout the evening and in the days to come. We will share information as we have it with all of you. We knew that this update was preliminary, but we also know that there's a lot of fear and anxiety and concern in our community, and so it was important to get out the details that we do have at this time. At this point, you know all the information that can be shared, and we will keep the community and members of the press corps updated as we go throughout the evening.
Has there ever been a shooting at Brown University before?
To my knowledge, no.
Commander, has Chief Perez been briefed on the incident?
Absolutely.
Where is he?
The chief is on his way here and will be at our later press availabilities.
What kind of presence?
Who are living, obviously, in this area that are concerned, they're instructed to shelter in place. If they see something that they feel is suspicious, what is the best way for them to reach out? Can they send pictures? Can they reach out? Obviously, you can call police.
They should call the police. That is the best way. Social media or other forms of communication are not the appropriate venue. You should call 911 if you believe you have information that may help us with this investigation, particularly if you were a student on campus or an adult on campus that was near the area that you think you have something to contribute. Please call the police to help us with our investigation.
Mayor, is there any thought about shutting businesses down, like on Thayer Street or anything like that? I know they did that in Maine after this.
At this point, we're not mandating that businesses shut, but we are asking everyone to shelter in place, and so we would hope that everyone would stay indoors until they hear otherwise from official City of Providence channels. In this day and age, we know there will be misinformation available online, and so please, when it comes to official updates with regard to the shelter in place and other updates, go to the City of Providence's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of our social media channels. It is clearly marked as the official City of Providence page so that you know you're getting the accurate and official update.
The shelter in place extends to what area?
The shelter in place is defined as the broader Brown community, Brown neighborhood. Everyone knows if they live near Brown, and certainly if you're on campus. Because we don't have additional information to share at this time about the location of a shooter, we cannot more specifically define it than that. This is a scary time, I know. As many folks know, I live proximate to the campus, and I'm hearing from friends and neighbors. We're encouraging people to stay inside until there are additional updates.
Can we ask the provost a
Sure.
question? What is the policy at Brown University regarding firearms? Could a student legally have a firearm in the dorm?
No.
They cannot?
They cannot.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm just asking,
Yes.
is the chief coming in? Was he out of state?
I don't know. He's in transit, and he's expected to be here within an hour or two, and so he will be with us at future updates this evening.
What time did police arrive at the scene after the first?
Hold on, Pat. We're going to take Nisha's question first, and Chief, this might be for you, please.
What was that?
What time did police arrive at the scene after the first 911 call?
The exact time, I don't know, but it's the Barris and Holly is 184 Hope Street, and it's a very short drive from us, so I would say minutes,
And
within
how about
minutes.
for Providence Police? When were they contacted?
Whenever we were called, we responded immediately and immediately entered that building looking for the shooter.
We'll provide a timeline later in the evening.
How often do the various law enforcement agencies prepare for situations like this? Do they do active shooter simulations, trainings, establishing perimeters? Talk a little bit about that training that goes into this multi-agency response.
Certainly.
Go ahead.
Well, certainly welcome you to as well. We just did a few months ago a joint training, Brown PD and Providence PD and Providence Fire and Rescue Task Force. It's something we certainly plan for, practice for, rehearse, but never want to see it to come to fruition like it did today. But it is something that we definitely prepare for multiple times throughout the year. And as mentioned, we just had a joint training several months ago.
Colonel?
And Kate, I would just add, I'm sorry, John, one second. I would just add, Kate, that the City of Providence conducted an active shooter drill, a live drill at a closed school about 18 months ago with not just police, but fire, emergency management, and the other various departments in city government that are responding. This is a sad state of our country right now where you have to plan for these things. And hopefully the community takes some comfort to know that their Providence leadership has planned for this occurrence, including very recently.
Colonel, you said that there was a final exam going on in the building. Where is the campus? Are there still most students on campus? Have some already taken their exams and gone home?
It's a little bit of both. Some students have gone home, but as the provost said, there's still some there's still some activity going on. Provost?
We're still in the finals period. So students who didn't have exams have left, but we are still conducting.
Final exam for what class?
We're not prepared to release that information right now. There were multiple exams in the building.
Pat, hold on, Pat.
Or should I address this to the Colonel? Does the Brown University receive threatening chatter at any time? And in what manner does Brown University Police monitor that, or is that turned over to Providence Police right away?
There's a strong partnership and collaboration between Brown University and Providence PD. Any information like that we will share, and we also share it with the Fusion Center as well. As mentioned, we have no verified information, warning, or anything related to today's events.
Dan?
Mayor,
hold on a second. John, Dan?
Mayor, you live right next to the building, correct? Were you home at the time?
I was home at the time.
So, did anyone come to you, did you shelter in place? Can you just give what happened when you found out?
Yeah, I was at home watching the PC game and saw lights and sirens go by my house. And at which time Commander O'Hara called me with a very preliminary update, and then have been in touch. And obviously, as you point out, about a block away, very proximate through the rest of the evening. I'm sorry, John, then Dan.
If someone right now feels they may have a video that's useful, someone running by their house, someone acting suspicious, who do you want them to contact?
I want them to contact the police department. Call us up. We'll send a detective out to there right away and see what kind of evidence they may have for us.
Should people check Ring cameras, businesses?
Yes, they should. If they have a Ring camera in the area of the shooting, they should be reviewing that right now and see if there's anything that looks suspicious. We'll follow up.
Dan. Follow up on that question. With that area and all of the cameras in that area, you have to have something.
I don't have anything yet, Dan.
Are you looking through it, though?
Absolutely.
Okay. And the conditions of the victims, a source at the hospital says that there could be more casualties. Can you just gently tell us what we know about the conditions?
We can't speak any further about the condition. They are in critical but stable condition. And we will provide additional updates as they become available. As we have mentioned multiple times, and I will mention again, because it's very important that we be honest and transparent with all of you and with parents and loved ones who are concerned about, they've got students who are away at school or they have someone who works at Brown. We're not done yet. And so while we have no other victims at this time that we're aware of, it is possible. And so it's very important that we say that this is preliminary information, that we know that there is a minimum of 8 victims in the hospital at this time. But it is all subject to change. And when those changes, or if those changes occur, we will be sure to share them with you.
Commander, one more question. Are you confident it's just one individual you're looking for?
That's the information we have now.
And do you want to give the phone number people should call?
272-1111 or 272-3121.
As I mentioned, we expect to be providing additional updates throughout the evening. If you're not on our press list, please see Josh. Raise your hand. Please see Josh to make sure you get on the press list. That's where we will notify.
CBS News special report. I'm Jerika Duncan in New York. We are coming on the air tonight to report yet another mass shooting in this country. At least 2 people have been shot and killed at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. That is according to the city's mayor, Brett Smiley, who also says 8 people are in critical but stable condition. The shooter is still at large. The mass shooting happened earlier this afternoon on campus. There was a news conference by local authority moments ago. Let's listen in.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Providence Mayor Brett Smiley. I'm joined here tonight by Fire Chief Derek Silva, Brown Police Chief Rodney Chapman, Brown Provost Frank Doyle, Governor Dan McKee, Councilman John Gonsalves, Commander Tim O'Hara, and Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos. It is still early hours in the incident that occurred at Brown today, and so please understand that it's important for us to share what details we do have to the community, because there's a lot of fear and anxiety and unfortunately already some misinformation, but this is very early hours, and so please know that some of these details may be subject to change, that this investigation is ongoing. We will be as transparent as we can in the hours to come, and we'll provide regular updates, but we're going to share what we do know at this time. But please bear with us as we know sometimes these details shift as the investigation progresses. Sadly, today is a day that the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island prayed would never come. We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status, those stable, at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this time. There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted. We will make regular updates through all City of Providence official social media channels. That's where you can find out more information about the shelter in place, if it changes, when it's lifted. I want to commend the heroic work of the Providence Police Department, the Brown Police Department, the Providence Fire Department, and the many agencies who provided mutual aid today. Brown Police responded first and then were quickly assisted by Providence Police, who fearlessly and courageously entered and worked through the building, and we'll hear from them in a minute. Providence Fire responded quickly as well and transported several of the victims. The fire department was assisted.
All right, we're joined now by CBS News reporter Logan Hall. He is on the scene there in Providence. We just heard from the mayor saying that there's a lot of fear and anxiety. Logan, what are you hearing in terms of the students and just that community right now?
Yeah, that's right. Good evening. We got here about an hour ago, and this campus is eerily quiet right now. Something that's very clear in driving through the streets of this campus is that students are taking this shelter-in-place order very seriously. They are listening to campus police and Providence police when they tell them that this shooter is still at large and that they need to remain sheltered in place. So as we've been driving around, we haven't really seen any students. We haven't really seen any signs of life whatsoever, as everybody here on this campus is locked down at the moment.
I heard some other interviews of students just being surprised who were either in the building or around the building. How are you all keeping safe at this time, knowing, as you just said, that street or those areas are very quiet, eerily quiet?
Yeah, I think something that was shocking to hear from the Brown Provost just moments ago in that press conference was that this happened inside of an engineering building where final exams were taking place at the time of the shooting. So for these students, this is something that was incredibly shocking. It was something that they were not expecting, especially when they're in the middle of final exam studies, prepping for tests, and going about what is supposed to be a very normal time of year here at Brown University.
Yeah, very fluid situation. Again, as the mayor stated, Logan Hall, thank you so much for checking in with us. I want to turn now to CBS News security contributor Sam Vinogradov. Sam, we've been here before. What can you tell us just about what happens now with this investigation? It sounds like there's still a lot to learn, and it's very early. The mayor asking for patience as they try to figure things out.
Well, we've just been here too many times before, and as a parent, this is just horrific to begin to wrap our heads around. At this point, we are still in the threat mitigation period. There is still very clearly an active threat to the public based on the fact that the suspect is not yet in custody. What that means is that at this moment, various law enforcement partners at the campus, city, state, and federal level, we know the FBI is also involved, are working to identify who the suspect or suspects are. That will likely include eyewitness interviews with individuals who may have seen the suspect, combing video and aerial footage of the individual, both within the building, ostensibly there are video cameras there, and when this individual fled, and from there trying to make an identification. We may at some point see requests for the public to assist with that. Unfortunately, having been involved in the aftermath of these kinds of horrific campus security events, we also know that there are reunification points being set up and various communications between the university, campus officials, administrators, parents, and students to try to identify who was hurt and who is safe and who is not. So that's all ongoing at this time.
And Sam, just help us understand, because we see all the images, the FBI, all these different law enforcement officials are there. This happened just after 4 o'clock. Are you surprised that they're not a little bit closer to having a suspect in custody and they're asking for this sort of patience? I mean, it is a big university, over 200 buildings, I think 150 square acres. But just give us a sense of how quickly sometimes these things come together and how this could be something that we're talking about even tomorrow in terms of maybe not having a suspect in custody.
I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, every incident is very different, particularly if this individual had his or her appearance camouflaged, was wearing a mask, was in unidentifiable clothing. Identifying the suspect could take a long time. We've seen that play out in other investigations, like the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and more. So this could take time. I am heartened to see the various levels of law enforcement, federal, state, local, and campus cooperating, because each has unique expertise that can come to bear to try to identify the suspect, to try to ensure that the suspect acted alone and that there are no other associated threats to the public, and to try to keep everybody safe. So when we get an ID on the suspect, there's really no way of knowing when that'll happen, but we do know all the law enforcement partners involved have different assets and techniques they can use to identify the individual or individuals involved.
Yeah, and I do know at that news conference there was mention of someone as a male in all black, possibly that they were looking for. Sam, Logan, thank you guys so much for helping us understand what's happening at this hour. Our coverage will, of course, continue on CBS News 24/7. That's at cbsnews.com. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Jerika Duncan in New York.
Anyone in that area, they said they're in the process, the police chief did, in the process of screening video from the campus that might be helpful, trying to screen video from the surrounding neighborhood that might be helpful, because there's several businesses there in that area. But they're also asking homeowners, people to, if they have Ring cameras, to look at them around this time and see if they might have captured any images of this gunman fleeing. Now, I mentioned that authorities there in Providence have contacted the White House, and I understand we now have a reaction from President Donald Trump.
So I've been fully briefed on the Brown University situation, what a terrible thing it is, and all we can do right now is pray for the victims and for those that were very badly hurt, it looks like. And we'll inform you later as to what's happening, but it's a shame. It's a shame. Just pray. Thank you very much.
So there's a very quick response from President Trump tonight. It sounds like he was walking from Marine One, the helicopter there, heading back to the White House. In any event, the shelter-in-place continues all around Brown University there, not just the campus, but also the surrounding neighborhood, as this gunman remains at large. Again, no shooter in custody. Reports of that were posted earlier turned out to be mistaken. No shooter is in custody, and you should shelter in place if you're currently hunkered down in that area. If you are not, and you are watching this from somewhere else, they encourage you not to return to your apartment if it's in that area. You definitely want to stay out of that area as police do their work. This is a situation now that's been going on for approximately 3 hours, a little over 3 hours now from when the first calls came in that were reported gunfire at the Barris and Holly building. That's on Hope Street there on the Brown campus. At that time, final exams were going on in that building. The shooter entered wearing all black, opened fire, killing 2 people, wounding 8 others, and then escaping. And what you're looking at now is the effort by first responders, A, to find those who might be injured, but also B, to secure the area. Keep in mind, when they go into these situations, they have to almost do a building-by-building search. They have to secure these buildings to make sure that the suspect is not hiding out in a basement, in a nearby apartment, in a garage, that sort of thing. And this is something that's going to take some time. It's not going to happen all in the next 20 minutes or so. But what the next step I think we're looking forward to here is to get some surveillance video of the suspect. Police acknowledge they're working on that right now to try to get some pictures out to the public that might be useful. Somebody might be able to look at that picture, and even though the suspect may be masked or in all black, or the pictures may not be great, they may have an idea of who that might be and give police a place where they can kind of start to try to unravel this thing. Again, we just heard from President Trump on this, not saying much other than the obvious. This is a horrible incident that has now touched Providence and Brown University. This is the second day of finals there at that school. True, some students have probably gone home, those that don't have finals, but many are there taking their finals, which goes into the middle of this week. And there were indeed finals going on at the Barris and Holly building when this gunman opened fire. Hard to say at this point in the midst of this how this is going to affect the schedule for finals, but obviously it's going to have some impact. The more immediate problem is to try to find this shooter, or at least secure the areas of campus where people don't have to shelter down anymore. The video you're looking at, again, all shot within the last few hours there in the area around the engineering building, the Barris and Holly building. If you're familiar with campus, you know it's a high-rise there, houses the engineering and physics department where finals were underway. Our confirmation now from officials is that 2 people were killed, 8 are in critical but stable condition, we are told, at Rhode Island Hospital. The Mayor, Brett Smiley, calling this a day that we prayed would never come. Unfortunately, here it is. Okay, so we're continuing our live coverage of this, now about 3 hours into it. We have a reporter and a crew at the scene, and we're hopeful to get in touch with him, with Logan Hall, any moment now, so he can give us his thoughts on what he is seeing occurring around there, as this is our continuing coverage of the shooting on the campus of Brown University. Let me go back if you're just joining us. It began shortly after 4 o'clock, just another Saturday afternoon of finals on the university campus there at Brown. First calls came in at 4:05 that there was gunfire in the Barris and Holly building there on Hope Street. Police later telling us that that's where a gunman walked in and opened fire, not giving details on whether it was in a hallway or in a classroom, in a professor's office. We're just not getting those details. They're being careful about what they say at this point, but he killed 8. He killed 2. He wounded 8, and then he escaped out a door and disappeared onto Hope Street. And what you're watching now is the effort to, again, try to locate him. So the shelter in place, if you can hear my voice, shelter in place is still in effect. Police are making the rounds. They're interviewing witnesses. They're searching buildings and doing that sort of thing. Multiple agencies, you saw, again, a soundbite from President Trump, but federal authorities are already in on this. Keep in mind, they participate with local authorities on rehearsing for these tragedies. So federal authorities are already on the scene and already deeply involved in this. You heard at the news conference that they are already on the scene, and I'm sure more are heading in that direction. Anybody who knows anything about this, no matter how small it may seem, being urged to contact Providence Police or the Brown University Police about that. Again, may not seem like a big deal to you, but if you heard a reference somebody made the other day or something that seems connected, you should definitely go ahead and report that right now. All right, news conference wrapped up. It got underway and lasted about 40 minutes from about 6:40 through about 7 o'clock. Hearing from various authorities there who promised they would update us during the evening about any updates they had that were pertinent to the situation. Again, the most important thing we could get at this point would certainly be an image of the shooter as he was trying to make a getaway there or as he was heading into the building there on Hope Street. Shelter-in-place order still in effect, not just for the Brown campus, but for any of those areas just off campus. This applies to whether you are connected to Brown University or not. Certainly neighbors should also hunker down as well. Yeah, let's go ahead. We heard from several officials during the news conference. I think I've summarized those now, but let's go ahead and play a quick snippet from Mayor Brett Smiley, who was introduced to other officials at the news conference, and hear his summary of what happened this afternoon.
It is still early hours in the incident that occurred at Brown today, and so please understand that it's important for us to share what details we do have to the community, because there's a lot of fear and anxiety and unfortunately already some misinformation, but this is very early hours, and so please know that some of these details may be subject to change, that this investigation is ongoing. We will be as transparent as we can in the hours to come, and we'll provide regular updates, but we're going to share what we do know at this time. But please bear with us as we know sometimes these details shift as the investigation progresses. Sadly, today is a day that the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island prayed would never come. We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status, those stable, at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this time. There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted.
So earlier this afternoon, when we received the call for an active shooter inside a building inside Brown University, our officers responded, and as they're trained to do, entered that building immediately and began searching for a suspect. They did a systematic search of the building. However, no suspect was located at that time. They were able to clear that building and provide a safe place for all of students and faculty and workers that were in that building to meet at. Preliminarily, all we have is a suspect that was a male dressed in black. It is unknown how he entered the building, but we do know that he exited the Hope Street side of that complex. We're utilizing every resource possible to find this suspect. The shelter in place is in order, and I urge people to take that very seriously. Please do not come to the area. There's an active police investigation going on, and there's a lot of police activity. We've got assistance so far from some surrounding communities, the state police, the Cranston Police, East Providence Police, as well as our federal partners in the FBI and the ATF. We're talking to witnesses at this time and delving into any video that's in the area, and the investigation is very active and ongoing. We'll be updating you, I'm sure, throughout the night, but as I said, right now there is no suspect that is under arrest, so please stay out of the area.
At 4:05 p.m., we were dispatched to the area of Waterman and Thayer for an active shooter incident where our firefighters, known as a rescue task force, linked up with Providence Police with 2 operational locations at Waterman and Thayer and Waterman at Hope. Rescue task force is a firefighter that wears body armor and has ability to stop any shooting wounds and make sure that any victims are extricated quickly. With the assistance of police in neighboring cities and towns, 8 people were transported, as the mayor mentioned, critical but stable condition, and 2, unfortunately, were dead on arrival. We have a total of 10 victims, but as I caution everyone, this is a developing incident, and we are still actively searching the buildings along with Providence Police to make sure that everyone has gone home safe and that there are no one else that needs our assistance.
So you want to keep in mind that was an update approximately 45 minutes ago. So at this point, I think it's probably safe to assume that in and around the building where the shooting took place there on the Brown University campus, the victims of this shooting have been located. We again are told 2 are dead, 8 are wounded. But what's transpiring now is the search of the area around that. Keep in mind it's dark and it's going to take some time. The gunman who opened fire inside the Barris and Holly building at about 4 o'clock is still at large. So you see right there, federal agents from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency are on scene. Many federal agencies are. They're helping with this search, and it has to be somewhat methodical. They have to go from house to house and clear homes and eliminate the fact that the suspect might be hiding there. It's kind of a hunt and peck type of situation. I mean, they have to check out pretty much every street in the area, and while first responders are there doing that, they're conducting this search. They have to clear these various areas and make sure that the gunman is not there. All while other law enforcement are trying to scan the neighborhood for video. You heard during the news conference they asked anybody in that area that might have any surveillance video that may have captured the shooter either coming to the building or running from the building to try to come forward. Obviously, it takes some time for them, a homeowner, to check his surveillance system and to call up that time and to see if they can be of help. But that's an image that they're certainly working on at this time, and I bet the next time we hear from authorities, they will have at least an image, if not video, to release to us, and that might help point them in the right direction. When we talk about motive in this shooting, we know nothing about that. Authorities would not touch that during their news briefing. You can hardly blame them, because we're in the early stages here, 3 hours after this has taken place, and they are upfront in saying that they received no messages ahead of time. No social media threats, nothing of that nature, no calls, no hint that this was going to happen. And yet, a little after 4 o'clock, where finals were going on in the Barris and Holly building, that gunman walked in dressed all in black and opened fire, killing 2, wounding 8, and fled out into the street, apparently using the Hope Street exit there. You can see in that video, student running from the scene. It is one of those situations now where law enforcement is just going to have to carry out the tough and grinding work of trying to clear out the neighborhoods in that area. Again, the searchers are out there trying to make sure that the suspect is not hiding nearby. Other teams are working on providing that video and seeing if they can get that out and released to the public. So they can get it on TV, they can get it on social media, they can get word out on the internet, and hopefully give them some leads in this case. But as far as motive, everybody, you always want to ask why these things occur. We don't know anything about it at this point. We only know that the gunman dressed all in black walked into this building, a campus building at Brown University that houses engineering and physics department, and opened fire, and with deadly results. We don't know anything about the why of it at this point. That's something that will come later. Again, the authorities have told us that they will update us as the evening wears on and give us any pertinent updates. Again, hopefully a picture. The White House has been notified. A few moments ago, you saw just a brief comment from President Trump. At this point, it doesn't know all the ins and outs of it, just commented on the obvious that this is a tragic situation that's happened on the campus on their second day of finals there at Brown. The mayor opened up the news conference an hour or so ago by saying this is a day that we prayed would never come, but yet here it is on the campus of Brown University. Our reporter Logan Hall is in that area right now. He was at the news conference. He is gathering some information right now, and hopefully we'll hear from him in a short amount of time. In the meantime, we'll just continue to stick with this, and for those of you just tuning in, tell you that the active shooter warning there, the shelter-in-place warning, continues around Brown University in Providence as police try to locate a man who, dressed all in black, carried out this heinous crime this afternoon. Okay. We do not know when our next update is going to come here from officials. They have told us only that they would check in with us several times during the night to try to give us an update on what's happening there. But at this point in time, we don't have a heck of a lot of new information to add on. We can only basically keep telling you what has happened there and what is ongoing on the campus. If you're coming back to that area, federal officials on the scene have told us you should not try to return. If you live in that area, stay away from the area. If you're hunkered down in your apartment, definitely don't leave until you get official word from police, if they come to your building, if they clear the scene, that sort of thing. But that doesn't appear to be something that's going to happen anytime soon. Okay, and back in the control room, did you say we have some? Okay, all right. In the meantime, we're going to go back and touch base with some of the information that came out of the news conference there in Providence with the mayor and various Brown officials taking the podium to describe to us what they now know.
It is still early hours in the incident that occurred at Brown today, and so please understand that it's important for us to share what details we do have to the community, because there's a lot of fear and anxiety and unfortunately already some misinformation, but this is very early hours, and so please know that some of these details may be subject to change, that this investigation is ongoing. We will be as transparent as we can in the hours to come, and we'll provide regular updates, but we're going to share what we do know at this time. But please bear with us as we know sometimes these details shift as the investigation progresses. Sadly, today is a day that the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island prayed would never come. We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status, though stable, at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this time. There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted.
So earlier this afternoon, when we received the call for an active shooter inside a building inside Brown University, our officers responded, and as they're trained to do, entered that building immediately and began searching for a suspect. They did a systematic search of the building. However, no suspect was located at that time. They were able to clear that building and provide a safe place for all of students and faculty and workers that were in that building to meet at. Preliminarily, all we have is a suspect that was a male dressed in black. It is unknown how he entered the building, but we do know that he exited the Hope Street side of that complex. We're utilizing every resource possible to find this suspect. The shelter in place is in order, and I urge people to take that very seriously. Please do not come to the area. There's an active police investigation going on, and there's a lot of police activity. We've got assistance so far from some surrounding communities, the state police, the Cranston Police, East Providence Police, as well as our federal partners in the FBI and the ATF. We're talking to witnesses at this time and delving into any video that's in the area, and the investigation is very active and ongoing. We'll be updating you, I'm sure, throughout the night, but as I said, right now there is no suspect that is under arrest, so please stay out of the area.
At 4:05 p.m., we were dispatched to the area of Waterman and Thayer for an active shooter incident where our firefighters, known as a rescue task force, linked up with Providence Police with 2 operational locations at Waterman and Thayer and Waterman and at Hope. Rescue task force is a firefighter that wears body armor and has ability to stop any shooting wounds and make sure that any victims are extricated quickly. With the assistance of police in neighboring cities and towns, 8 people were transported, as the mayor mentioned, critical but stable condition, and 2, unfortunately, were dead on arrival. We have a total of 10 victims, but as I caution everyone, this is a developing incident, and we are still actively searching the buildings along with Providence Police to make sure that everyone has gone home safe and that there are no one else that needs our assistance.
So that's from a news conference now roughly an hour ago by officials there in Providence, Brown University, the Providence Police and such, stressing that the shelter-in-place order remains. It remains even at this hour as authorities there continue to try to clear the area around the shooting scene. Logan Hall, our reporter, is there. He was there at the news conference, and now he joins us. Logan, this has got to be, it's one of those moments that kind of make you gasp. What are you seeing? Let's first start with, what did you take away from that news conference?
Yeah, Ken, I think the biggest takeaway from that news conference is that the shooter is still at large and that authorities are still actively searching for a suspect at this time. They did give that brief description of the person they believe to be responsible for this. They said it was a man wearing all black. So, again, just a very short description, but the biggest takeaway is that they are still actively searching for that person. We did get some of those first numbers. Again, it is very early, but again, they did confirm that 2 people have died, that 8 more are still in critical condition at this hour. We did learn bits and pieces of information about the building that the shooting took place in. This is actually an engineering building with classrooms and laboratories, and the provost of Brown University in this update just moments ago told us that there were actually final exams taking place inside of this building at the time of the shooting. So this is something that was unbelievably surprising and terrifying for students, many of whom were either studying for exams or taking an exam. Something that I can tell you, as we've been on scene here so far tonight, we haven't seen many people driving around campus. These streets are empty. The hallways are empty. And coming along this campus, you're not seeing many people here walking along these streets. They are taking these shelter-in-place orders very seriously. So it is an eerie campus right now as folks continue to shelter in place at this time, as that search for that suspect is ongoing.
Logan, you drove into that area while this search was going on. Are you able to get around, or is it just roadblock after roadblock?
Yeah, Ken, it's a great question. Streets, for the most part right now, are empty, but there is a strong law enforcement presence. So the closer that you get to Brown University, we are right across the street from it right now, the more and more roadblocks that you will come across. At this time, authorities are advising that all people avoid this area entirely. Mayor Brett Smiley telling residents to stay in place, to stay clear of Brown University, saying that if you live here, you know what that area looks like, and to avoid these streets at this time. So all we're really seeing right now up and down these streets near Brown University, Ken, is a strong law enforcement presence.
Do you have any time frame from talking to the officers out on the street? I mean, obviously, this is going to be a long haul this evening, correct?
Yeah, Ken, that's right. Providence Police Department tells us that they anticipate spending all night here. They said that they are currently in the building where the shooting took place, and they don't plan on leaving anytime soon. They said they should be there through the night. Again, this first call came in at around 4:05, and authorities have been here on campus since then. They are working to find the suspect right now using surveillance cameras that were available in the area to try to get an image of the person they believe is responsible for this shooting. But at this time, law enforcement will be here on this campus for the foreseeable future.
Logan Hall live for us in Providence tonight. You're getting an aerial view there from the chopper, and you can see it's just a massive law enforcement scene at this point. Federal, state, local authorities all trying to pitch in there with the search effort and the effort to secure that area. I understand we have our WBZ security analyst, Ed Davis, with us now, either on the phone or via Zoom. Ed, are you there? Well, apparently Ed is not there yet. Okay, hold on. We're switching some technical things now. We're going to try it again. Ed, this is Ken McLeod in the studio. Are you there? I can see you there. Sir?
I am, Ken. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Ed, thanks for joining us tonight. Obviously, our security analyst, also the former Boston police chief. Ed, you and I have sat here on events like this before, unfortunately. First, let me get a take from you on what's happening right now among those law enforcement troops in that area.
Ken, they have set up a perimeter, and they are working really hard to develop photographic or video evidence of the suspect. That's the most critical component that they can get their hands on right now, and then hopefully share that information with the public as soon as possible. It appears as though this person escaped, although I will caution that sometimes these guys go to ground. They're still in the area, and you have to go block by block and street by street and check all of the buildings to make sure that they're not hiding in a garage or a basement or something. So all of that is going on right now. And I can tell you, this is very cold weather to be outside for hours on end. This is already 2 or 3 hours in, and this is going to go all night if they don't get their hands on this guy. So very difficult, tense situation, very dangerous for the officers, and I'll say very dangerous for the community who live in that area.
Enforcement out there is going house to house, block to block, basically, trying to eliminate when they cross off a street as they do it. Okay, he's not here.
Right. We call it collapsing the perimeter. You put the perimeter out at the farthest possible location the suspect could have got to, and then slowly work your way inside until you've cleared all the buildings, cars, trucks, things like that. So it takes a long time. It takes multiple SWAT teams, people that are prepared for the worst. At the same time, all that is going on. The FBI is downloading cell phone towers. We call it dumping the tower to get all the data of cell phones that were hitting off those towers, and there are thousands and thousands of them. So that data has to be gone through, and the combination of the cell phone data and any video or cameras that you get your hands on is a very powerful way to solve these situations. However, in this particular case, we don't know how this is going to break. We don't know if this guy's going to surrender. We don't know if he's going to be captured or identified and confronted by the police, or if he takes his own life. That happens frequently in these situations, or if there's another assault. So this may be a rolling thing. Sometimes these things go for days on end, and it's very unsettling.
Ed, in that area now, as those neighbors, what are they going to tell the neighbors as they clear the streets? They're not going to let anybody go out and begin walking around, right? They're going to continue to tell them to stay put.
Right, there'll be a lockdown, but these are voluntary lockdowns. You can't arrest people who don't listen to you. Not listening to you is very foolish. But the information the officers are going to give is stay in the house or get in the house if they see people coming out. And then they're going to go ask for permission to clear outbuildings and basements and sometimes even residences if people want that to make sure the suspect isn't hiding out somewhere and holding somebody hostage.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carissa Lawson. Updating breaking news now. 2 people are dead and at least 8 others injured following a shooting this afternoon at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. University officials are telling people to remain sheltered in place at this time following the shooting that happened in the 4 p.m. Eastern hour. The suspect is still at large, and law enforcement says the shooter is male and was dressed in black. That's all they know right now. The FBI's Boston office posted that it is, quote, assisting our law enforcement partners in Rhode Island with any and all available resources, including evidence response, investigative and tactical support, as well as victim assistance. We urge the public to remain vigilant and report any and all suspicious activity to law enforcement immediately, end quote. The head of our crime and policing unit, Annette Schechter, joins us now. Thank you so much for being with us right now. So we have the first question for you. What more information do we have at this time?
Well, given that the suspect is still at large, I'm seeing the New York Times reporting that police cruisers are slowly driving through these neighborhood streets with bright lights on. They're looking in parked cars' windows, searching for this person. So it remains a shelter-in-place situation, which is extremely scary. It's not just the students that are there, but there are residential buildings interspersed in that neighborhood where that engineering building is, where the shooting occurred. So folks there are on lockdown. You see on your screen there multiple vehicles responding. You see those lights. Multiple agencies have descended on the scene. This is an all-out manhunt. And I have to say, this is not the first this year. We've had multiple cases where shooters have been able to get away. And this is actually quite surprising, given that this was an area where students are milling around. You know, the school was not closed for the break just yet, although it sounds like final exams were underway. And this individual was able to exit. They know which exit he left the building. And so, of course, that's the beginning of the clues. They are pulling in all of the surveillance video. There are surveillance cameras likely on multiple buildings in the area, and it's just a huge amount of data that they have to go through, and they have to isolate the images where those cameras captured the suspect fleeing. Clearly, they do not have much of a lead, given that they're doing this search in this way, slowly going car by car, using flashlights, etc. So very, very scary situation on the ground, but I do expect that the surveillance cameras that are available to law enforcement will be key in pinning down exactly which direction he went and ultimately helping law enforcement to apprehend the suspect.
So what do we know about this suspect in the shooting?
The only description that we have is that the shooter is male and was wearing black clothing. So this is quite nondescript. We don't have an estimated height or weight or build, as we sometimes get in these cases, a little bit more clues so that members of the public can be on the lookout. But what I suspect is that law enforcement is going to make a decision once they've gathered enough images together. They're going to post those images and ask the public for help. We've seen that in several cases over the last months and in the last year. And that kind of old school, if you see something, say something, that actually works. And that has helped police locate suspects I'm just thinking of, a couple of other Saturday or Sunday nights when we were encountering shootings, and those images did go out to the public. So we haven't seen any yet, but I imagine that could be coming in the coming hours. Of course, a range of scenarios could play out here, and we just don't know. And we don't know where this individual could be hiding. Could they have used public transport? Did they have a vehicle? We don't have any of that information yet.
And that's the scariest part out of all of this. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Now we go to Pat Milton joining us on the phone. She is a senior producer in the CBS News investigative unit. Thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
So what kinds of steps do you believe law enforcement is taking right now to try to find the shooter?
Yeah, well, just to build on my colleague, Anna Schechter, police are trying to go through surveillance videos. It's crucial to get an image of this suspect out to the public. As a number of years ago with the Boston Marathon bombers, it wasn't until police were able to get an image of the bombers out that led to their arrest. So they're going through surveillance videos and trying to enhance any kind of images that they may have of the suspect. We do know only that it's a male and he was dressed in black.
So obviously, because they don't have this shooter yet, it has to be still considered an active threat to the public.
Oh, it is an active threat, and that's why they still have it on lockdown, on shelter in place. And they're alerting neighborhoods as they go around searching. They're alerting people to stay in their homes and to keep their doors locked.
All right. Tell us what we can surmise from law enforcement right now, what they're doing in terms of these surveillance videos. Once they have their hands on this is when the public is really going to be able to help get some answers for them.
Well, they're doing an awful lot. Like the FBI has responded from Boston, and they bring their evidence recovery teams up. They're searching for any kind of fingerprints that may have been touched by the suspect. They're going through trash cans to see that maybe he threw the weapon away, maybe he threw clothing away. So they're trying everything they can to identify exactly who did this. We don't know. We know it was a male. We don't know if it was a fellow student. And we know that 2 people are dead. We know that 8 are in critical. And we don't even know, too, whether those that were injured and those that are dead, whether they were indeed students.
So prior to getting any surveillance out to the public, what can the public do now before they get any of that information?
Well, I think, the whole old shoot that the police use. They want people to call in tips. They want them to say, who would have been maybe talking about something like this, who would have been disgruntled, who would have had any intention of going up there. Maybe somebody saw this person walk into the area. So they want anybody that saw anything, even if it's a minuscule piece of information, to call police or call FBI.
Pat Milton, thank you so much for that information. I want to bring in CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd right now to give us some more information and some more insight. Sam, what is the best way to find a shooter when so far all the information we have heard so far is that he's dressed in black?
Well, at this point, the best way to find the shooter is to examine every possible lead, and that includes interviewing eyewitnesses. That includes turning to the public and asking the public for tips about whether anyone that they know, anyone they lived with, express any kind of plans to participate in an attack like this. It also includes exhaustively combing through video footage. Ostensibly, there were security cameras in the building where the shooting unfolded and on the campus more generally. In addition to that, we have reporting, CNN is reporting that law enforcement is asking individuals in the vicinity of campus to turn in footage from their doorbell cameras. I mean, any and all video surveillance available should be turned over to law enforcement at this time. There's There's also the possibility of forensic evidence, footprints, fingerprints, pieces of DNA left behind at the scene. So we should expect to see law enforcement continue to ask the public for assistance, as well as exhaustive investigative efforts on the forensic side, on the video side, and otherwise.
So we know that there is still a shelter-in-place order. What would it take for it to be lifted at this point? I'm sure that's what a lot of people are wondering who are in that immediate area.
Certainly, and I was just emailing with a colleague whose family is sheltering in place and just wondering when they're going to get more information. Until the suspect is apprehended, and until law enforcement can confirm that there is no ongoing threat to the public, which could involve really carefully analyzing whether the suspect, once apprehended, acted alone or whether there are other active plots underway, the shelter in place will remain. I will say this, however, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, federal law enforcement, they practice for these kinds of scenarios exhaustively. And there is always a calibration point when law enforcement makes a call that the shelter in place has to be lifted so that people can get essential services and otherwise. So we're just about 4 hours out from the shooting, very early hours. But at this point, it does appear that law enforcement remains concerned about an active threat to the public because they just don't know who the suspect is and whether there are other ongoing threats to the public.
Now, from what I understand, this is the first time that anything like this has happened at Brown University.
Unfortunately, however, these tragedies have unfolded all across the country on campuses at the higher education level and all the way down to daycares and pre-K. The epidemic of gun violence on school campuses is catastrophic in this country. And despite the fact this had not yet happened on Brown's campus, Brown is one of the oldest universities in this country, officials at Brown regularly prepared and trained for incidents like this. It is just a reality that campus law enforcement practices regularly with their state, local, and federal partners to try to prevent something like this from happening, and then on how to respond. And that response piece is very important because if this individual did act alone, if this was a lone wolf attack, lone wolves are incredibly hard to detect before they act. And that's where the preparedness and resilience and mitigation efforts in which individuals train to try to prevent a tragedy from being even worse than it is really comes into play. And campus security all across the country at all levels of education, unfortunately and fortunately, practice regularly for these kinds of horrible incidents.
What clues may indicate that someone else may have been involved in all this?
There's a lot of different hypotheticals there. Certainly, if once the suspect is apprehended, if the suspect indicates that the suspect was in touch with someone else at the same time, once there is some sort of enough evidence that we may have an identification on a suspect, there will be warrants issued for the suspect's residence, vehicle perhaps, and then combing through social media channels, phones, other devices to try to understand whether the individual was in touch with anyone else, either to plan this attack or even just letting somebody else know that they were planning it in the first place, even if not asking for help. So that suspect ID is going to be really key. At the same time, if there's video footage, and again, this is highly hypothetical, there's video footage of another individual in and around the vicinity of the attack, that could be a sign as well. But right now, it does appear law enforcement is focused on one suspect, but 4 hours after a mass casualty event like this, it's just too soon to tell.
And you mentioned a moment ago that this is certainly an epidemic that this country is facing. And for many families, it seems as if it's not a matter of if it's going to happen in their area or their town or their school, but a matter of when. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Pat Milton and Anna Schechter, we thank them as well. And we will continue to follow what happens with the search for the shooter and this investigation. You can stay with CBS News for any breaking developments on this story throughout the night on our website or on the CBS News app. For now, we rejoin coverage from CBS News Boston.
Practiced this, as most universities have, on a number of different times. Obviously, when you get into the real thing, it doesn't exactly go like practice. Do you learn stuff on the fly? You have to make adjustments on the fly?
Yes, every situation is different, and you know, I think that one component that people don't think about when they do tactical training, you know, you bring in special forces guys, you bring in experts from FEMA and the national organizations, and they talk about other incidents that have happened and how to best handle them. But the one thing that sometimes we're not as up to speed on is bringing partners in to deal with the trauma and support of victims and victims' families in these situations, and the police officers that have to go see these horrible scenes. You know, I always stress that obviously the headlines are all about the hunt for the suspect, and there's a bunch of detectives and police officers running around trying to get their hands on this guy. But at the same time, there's an undercurrent of sort of support services that need to be introduced and supported. I was in Nevada, in Las Vegas, the night of the shooting at the concert, and the police chief out there and the mayor did a great job in getting those support services in place, similar to what we did here under the direction of Mayor Menino. So that's what I would caution against, is trying to have a holistic view of all the need that's out there besides trauma, you know, physical trauma and a body that has to get to a hospital very quickly. It goes way beyond that.
And Ed, your troops in the field are also dealing with the angst of the community, right? I mean, they're sitting here wondering, they may have, you know, be watching online or on television coverage of it, but they certainly don't have many answers.
Right. People are afraid. And the best thing that they can do is to follow the advice of the public officials. If you're sheltering in a dormitory somewhere, get on the phone with a trusted relative or someone that can talk you through the situation. It's extremely unsettling, but as long as you're safe behind a locked door and you don't do anything to bring attention to yourself, you just want to try to wait it out. And that's exactly it's helpful to have somebody counseling you during a situation like that.
How long is it, or is it kind of a floating figure on when the police would decide if it was safe enough to lift the shelter-in-place order?
Well, you know, it's very difficult. It's an arbitrary amount of time depending on the circumstances, and I don't know enough about it to guess what would be appropriate in this situation. But I will tell you, after 24 hours of us having a lockdown in Watertown and around there, the President of the United States called the governor and said, we gotta end this. So there are people watching it. There is concern, and there's a certain amount of business that the police have to do before they believe it's safe. Sometimes it takes longer than others. But there's always a collaboration between the appointed officials who are running police agencies and the elected officials who have their hand on the heartbeat of the community.
Okay, Ed, let me ask you to stand by with us. Ed Davis on Zoom with us here, the former Boston Police Commissioner, current WBZ security analyst. We have about 30 seconds before we're going to get an update from CBS, so let me just quickly recap the scene out here. The shelter in place remains at Brown University, in the neighborhoods around Brown University, after a gunman entered a building on campus, shot and killed 2 people, and critically wounded 8 others. That gunman is still on the loose. Police are scouring the area to try to see where he might be hiding. They're also trying to recruit any surveillance video from the area. All right, let's get an update now from CBS. Oh, apparently we don't have that right now. Okay, well, we will just continue then with Ed. We'll continue with, well, let me go ahead and just add a few more details here. So the only details we have on the shooter at this point is that it's a male who was dressed in all black, entered the Barris and Holly building, which is an engineering and physics building there on the Brown campus on Hope Street, and opened fire. Again, this was about 5 after 4 this afternoon. Okay, I understand now we do have the special report from CBS.
48 Hours presents.
I've handled hundreds of firearms through the course of daily casework. The majority are handgun types. And then we see a fair amount of semi-automatic rifles,